Alright, it's a weekday afternoon. I don't normally get a lot of time in the shop, but I'm going to try and make some today. I got the adapters back from the hydraulic shop. You can see where they cut and welded a 10AN connector onto the factory proprietary adapter on that one, and they put an 8 on this one. So I'm going to try and get all of my hoses crimped, put all my O-rings in, get it all tight, and start the vacuum pump so that it can suck a vacuum overnight. I'll come out tomorrow morning, shut the vacuum pump off, and see how long it holds. So that's what I'm gonna get to doing. Got all the hoses crimped, got all the O-rings in, tightened all of the connections, and I'm pulling a vacuum now. So this is I borrowed this vacuum pump from the guy off the GT40 forum. It's a lot different than the pump I'd used in the past, which was like my great-grandfather's pump from the 40s. I mean, it was old school. This is also a 4-way gauge set instead of a 3-way, which I'm used to a 3-way. So I'm still pulling it through the refrigerant line because there's a bigger connection on the vacuum one, and I don't have an adapter for it. So I'm just pulling vacuum through the refrigerant side, but it should still work. So the gauges are on there, and pulling a vacuum. I've been pulling for about 5 minutes now. I'm gonna let it run overnight. I'm gonna come check it right before I go to bed, make sure the oil level's not dropping. I'm gonna let it run overnight, suck a big vacuum, and then tomorrow morning I'll come out and shut it off and see if it'll hold vacuum all day long. If it holds vacuum all day long, it'll be ready for a charge. My vacuum pump's still running. It's actually been about a day and a half. I did let the pump run all night long, pulled a great vacuum, shut the valves off. Vacuum's gone in less than 5 minutes. So I've got a leak. I've got a big leak. I just don't know where. So I've been trying to find the leak without charging the system because I know I'm going to lose the Freon, so why charge it? I've been trying to find a way to find the leak without it, but I'm not having any luck. I've tried shooting some dye into it through the low pressure port while I was pulling vacuum through the high pressure port, and you could hear the dye going in. You could hear the vacuum pump loading up as you put pressure on the system, but the dye is not making its way throughout the system. The UV dye, the only place you can see it is on the port that you injected it through. So I've tightened every connection twice. I've checked all the O-rings. I have no idea where it's leaking, but it's obviously leaking, and it's a big leak. So I'm just gonna have to. I called around. There are no. The only way you can really find the leak without charging it is if you pressurize it up with nitrogen and hydrogen, and then walk around with a hydrogen detector and find the leak. But there's no shops that can do that close enough that I'm willing to drive it to and go-kart for them. So yeah, there's nowhere close enough to do a nitrogen test. So I'm just going to have to charge it. And put the dye in it and see if I can find the leak using the dye. So it's pulling down now. It's really pulled about as far as it's going to pull. So I'm fixing to get the garage opened up, get the car started, get the fan and the compressor all kicked in, and then we'll start charging it. Alright, we'll see if you guys can hear me while I do a little clip. Looks like I put about, you can see the frost line, about 3/4 of a can in so far. It didn't take long. I mean, just a couple of seconds of hooking that up, and the compressor kicked on. So the binary switch passed power and the compressor kicked on. It is cooling. It's about 92 degrees today, and it's making 68 degree air. So not great, obviously. It takes 2 cans of coolant. I've only got 3/4 of one in, and I know I've got a leak. So if I've got 3/4 out of this bottle, I might only have a half or a third of a can in. I'm going to try and let this can empty, and then I'm going to put the leak detection dye in and let it run for a little longer. Maybe until the compressor kicks out on the safety switch, or maybe just two minutes, whichever comes first, and then I'll get the black light out and see if I can find where it's leaking. It was down to pumping out about 59-degree air, which was really good, actually. And then I pulled the low pressure port off and put the leak detection dye in, and it said to let it run for 10 minutes. So I set a timer and let the engine run for 10 minutes. And so I just shut it off. I'm fixing to pull it inside and kill all the lights and get the black light out and see if we can find the leak. So if you've never used this leak detection dye, it's pretty cool stuff. It glows under a black light. You can see it glowing right in there in the sight glass where I've got some down in there when the black light hits it. Maybe if I can get a good angle on it. There you go. You can see it glowing like ooze from Ninja Turtles back in the day. So I've been over the whole system, and there is a ton of it right down there. I don't know if I can get the camera to show it, but it's puddled on top of the compressor right behind the port there. It's not showing up on camera, and I don't know how I'm going to get it to show up on camera, but it's right there, that connector right there off to the side on the ground, or on that block back there. There's a ton of it glowing. So my guess is that port's what's leaking. I can't find anywhere else. I've been over the whole system. I've looked at every connection. I can't find any other glowing other than right there. So I think that connection is leaking right there at the compressor. I'm fixing to turn the car back on, turn the AC back on, and see if I can see maybe some spraying out of there using the light. And but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So those are those proprietary connections that I had to have cut and welded, and I guess it's a possibility that the O-rings that are on there got messed up during the welding process. Will it glow a little better now that my garage light cut off? You still can't really see it. So, oh well. You'll just have to trust me. It's right down there. So, but those O-rings could have gotten damaged during the welding process. So, I'm going to take it apart, and I guess I'm going to make a trip to the dealership for some new O-rings. Just pulled the head off, or the cap off, and you don't even need a black light to see how much of that stuff there is. Now, it's okay for it to be down in there. Like on the small port there, you can see it's down in the bottom where the O-ring was. But over here on the big one, you can see it up here on the top, which means it was getting past the O-ring. So, yeah, I'm gonna clean that up and take this fitting down to the dealership, find me a new O-ring. See if that fixes the problem. Alright, so I'm back from the dealership with my O-rings, and I had not bought any at the parts store, because when you look at these, they look really flat and kind of squared off, and so I had assumed that they were some kind of specialty O-ring, but now that I have the new ones, I can see they're just plain old O-rings, and they shouldn't be flat and squared off. That's probably why they're leaking. So I can get them changed out and put them back on the car and pull a vacuum and see if it'll hold this time. For 10 minutes now. So I'm going to let it hold for the rest of the afternoon. I can't really do anything else with it this afternoon anyway. I want to pull a vacuum on it overnight. So I'm going to let it hold all afternoon, take the kids to the pool, do some stuff with the family. Come out here tonight. If it's still held, then I'll turn the pump back on and let it pull all night long. And then tomorrow I'll charge it up. Hopefully we'll have ice cold air. Hopefully you guys can hear me. There's lawnmowers going 24/7 in my neighborhood. The car held vacuum, the AC system held vacuum for about 4 hours yesterday, so pretty sure the leaks are solved. So I'll let the pump run overnight. It's actually had about 14 hours of vacuum pulled on it, so it's time to charge it. I've got 3 cans here. I only need 2. I bought extras because I know I was doing leak checking. Factory manual calls for 21 ounces. But that's for a front engine setup. I've got a lot of extra hose. I've also got a little bit bigger condenser, so it should take between 21 and 24. I'll just have to watch the pressure and see. But fixing to fire it up and start charging. I've got my multimeter has a thermocouple mode on it, so I've got it ran down inside there. We'll be able to see what temperature air we're getting. We'll be able to look at the pressures on the gauges. We should be able to get the charge about right. I might not get quite as cold as optimal because I probably have a little more oil than I needed in the system. I couldn't find any real good information on how to calculate exactly how much oil I needed based on all the extra hoses and things like that for the mid-engine setup. So I decided to err on the side of caution. A little extra air, a little extra oil really just costs you a little bit of cooling. It doesn't hurt the system as long as you don't add massive extra amounts. So let's get started. Alright, hopefully you guys can hear me. I have to, you really got to check your AC system at 1500 RPM, which means I got to sit here in the car and hold the idle at about 1500. I probably need to back it off a little. There we go. But it's making 37 degree air, and that's plenty cold. Looking at the gauges, I'm about 20 on the low side, 210 on the high side, which is right in line. It's 88, 90 degrees today, so that's right about where I should be. And it's obviously making really cold air, so real happy with it. That kind of closes up the AC, so I think I really am finally going to mount the dash, even though I've been talking about it for 6 weeks now. I don't know if I should be able to get to 30, 29 degrees. Wow, that's really cold. It's going to freeze something up. I might need to look at that actually. I was actually on the coils. The coils might ice up if I keep it that cold, so might want to take a look at that. But yeah, real close to done, so we'll be working on the dash soon, real soon. Probably going to take some time to clean up the shop, move some of the tools out of there that aren't relevant to what I'm going to be doing going forwards, and then get started on that. Alright, so I called Resto Mod AC and talked to them about how cold the core was getting. And so they said that I was probably a little undercharged on my refrigerant, given how hot it is today. So they want me to put a little more in. I'll probably do that, but as long as I know there's nothing wrong with the system, it's not important that I get it exactly right. Right now, anyway, it's hard to dial the system in when it's open to the atmosphere. You're really supposed to have the windows up and all that kind of stuff, and I don't have a body, so. They want me to wrap the metal parts here with some cork tape that they sent with the kit, and put the body on. They want me to finish cork tape. They want me to finish charging the system off. So that's it. The AC system's in and working. The only thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a master switch on it. The way this system's set up, they never really cut the AC compressor off. Even with the heater on, they keep the AC compressor on to dry the air out, which is fine, really, but it messes with, the biggest thing is it messes with the idle learning circuit in the Subaru ECM, because you're not supposed to have any of the fans on or anything while it's learning idle. And if the AC compressor is always on, then the fan's always on. So I could always just reach up there and pull that, but I think it'll make sense to go ahead and somewhere on the dash put in a switch that drops the power to the compressor so that I can kill the compressor when I want to. So I'm gonna finish taping that up, and then I'm gonna get to cleaning up the garage and getting it kind of cut over from doing mechanical to doing cosmetic. I mean, some of the stuff I'll still need in here, but also even when I'm doing the interior, I'm gonna be doing fiberglass work. It's gonna generate a ton of dust. So the stuff I don't need, I'm probably gonna go ahead and take out of here. I mean, the welder, the plasma cutter, a ton of this stuff hanging on the wall here, all this stuff on these shelves. I'm not gonna need any of that for body work. So I'm gonna spend a day or two doing that, and then I'll get started on the dash.